Welcome back to the TWSN YouTube channel. We're in about a week into free agency. If you've been following along on the Twitter, the social medias, you have seen we did a free agency show every day talking about the biggest rumors, the biggest signings, even the biggest trades. But now it's time to get and start focusing on the draft a little bit. We have our first post free agency, post all these trades mock draft. Obviously, a lot has changed, man. We had the Deshaun Watson trade. We had a bunch of big signings, some other, the whole Baker Mayfield news. A lot of things to digest, and a lot of things that have really had a big impact on the draft board. A lot of people's draft targets in general. Obviously, some people filled some positions of need and whatnot. But like I said, before we get into things, please go follow along the TWSN social media accounts. The team killed it this week with free agency, but free agency is not over. So do not forget that. Please follow along there because it will have all the updates, the hints. We'll have probably some more free agency shows in a couple weeks, and we're going to be really hammering out some NFL draft content for you guys, starting here with this 32-team full first round NFL mock draft post week 1 of free agency. And let's get right into it. The Jaguars at 1 had a very interesting week of free agency, man. I'll tell you that. They had a lot of signings. Some people not necessarily understanding everything they did. They did shore up the offensive line a little bit with Brandon Scherff. But I still think that's the biggest need. And I kind of got this vibe after the combine and everything. I think Ekamakwanu, there's a good chance he goes 1, provides you some positional versatility more than Evan Neal. I think it's pretty close between him and Evan Neal. I think it's going to be one of those two guys. Maybe a guy like Kyle Hamilton or one of these edge rushers sneaks in there. But for right now, I like Ekamakwanu here at 1. And 2, it just feels like Aiden Hutchinson. I think the Detroit Lions were a little bit of not as aggressive in free agency as a lot of people thought they would be. But they've still done some things. Adding DJ Chark was obviously a pretty good move. Just a short one-year deal, prove it kind of thing. But I still think Aiden Hutchinson makes a lot of sense here too. And obviously here 3 with the Texans. Now they have picks 3 and 13 after Deshaun Watson. Whole saga has finally unfolded. But 3 here, I still like the best player in my opinion in the draft in Kayvon Thibodeaux. In my opinion, they're getting pretty lucky. He's there at 3. I know it sounds crazy, but I think he's that good of a player, and people are starting to overlook him for whatever reason it is. Now here at 4, you got to be pretty happy if Evan Neal falls to you at 4 if you're the Jets, man. You really do. You really, really do. The Jets, I really like what the Jets have done in free agency. Laken Tomlinson's a big add. They did a bunch adding C.J. Uzomah and Tyler Conklin. They've done a lot in the trenches. DJ Reed was an awesome signing for them. This Jets team is going to be a lot better than people. I think they're going to be pretty good. A lot better than people think they will be. And Evan Neal makes that offensive line pretty scary. A lot of development guys, Becton and Neal, Laken Tomlinson, Vera Tucker. It's a pretty dang good offensive line, a young one at that as well. Now 5 with the Giants is where things get a little interesting. I think here's the thing. I think that 6 is interesting because they pick at 5 and 7, and the Giants kind of want an offensive lineman. They need one, but do they think the Panthers are going to take one at 6? The Panthers upgraded their line a little bit, so I just think that the Giants will play it safe here, and they don't want to lose out on offensive lineman, so they take Charles Cross at 5. The Giants, they added Mark Lewinsky, solid offensive lineman. They still need help there. It's a massive area of need, so I think they'll take Charles Cross at 5, hoping that the Panthers go a different direction. A realistic shot that they do try to upgrade that offensive line, but they did do that in free agency. They added Bradley Bozeman and they added Austin Corbett. They really did upgrade it. So who knows who their quarterback's going to be? And I think this is kind of where I'm going to have my first quarterback go off the board. I really like Malik Willis here. I think Matt Rhule is going to go for something exciting, something different. They upgraded the offensive line in the interior. The edges, the tackles, I should say, are still a little iffy. They could really look to go there. But I think Malik Willis might be their guy. Mobile quarterbacks can handle outside pressure better than interior pressure. I think there's a lot of things to like with Malik Willis. He's no surefire bet by any means, but the upside is absolutely through the roof with this kid. And I think if he pans out They just re-signed DJ Moore. They still got Christian McCaffrey. There's a lot of things to like in Carolina. If this Malik Willis pick were to pan out. Now at 7, this has been one of my favorite players in the draft for a long time, and he's just slowly getting higher and higher and higher. That's Trayvon Walker from Georgia, man. Just a phenomenal player, can do it all. That's really it. Giants having a hell of a draft here. It's with Charles Cross and Trayvon Walker. Not the flashiest of names, but man, you're getting 2 absolute monster producers within the trenches. Now 8, I think this has to be a receiver. It's just, I mean, everybody knows what happened to Calvin Ridley. They haven't signed anybody. I know, maybe they take a chance at reuniting with Julio Jones. Maybe they bring in a guy like AJ Green. I know they kind of thought they were getting Deshaun Watson before that play, kind of went the direction it did. I think this probably has to be a receiver. The thing is, I think everybody's receiver rankings is going to be completely different. And I like Garrett Wilson here at 8. I think that's, like I said, where the receivers fall is going to be one of the most interesting things to me, because I do think everybody's going to be completely different. It wouldn't surprise me if it's Wilson, Williams, London, Burks. Like, any of those 4 people would not surprise me whatsoever. So I think this pick will probably be whoever Atlanta has as their wide receiver 1. It's kind of what I think would happen there at 8. 9, this pick is just, it just feels, I'm going to do it. I did it last time. I did it in my Seattle Seahawks specific team draft. But I think Ahmad Gardner he's exactly everything the Seahawks look for at a corner. They covet the height and length. And that's exactly what he is. And he's a super producer again. I know Cincinnati's not the biggest school in the world, but he did it against Jameson Williams. He did it against top competition. Don't overlook it. Don't let him fall because he went to a smaller school in Cincinnati. Now at 10, man, there's probably a good chance this guy's not even here. But Kyle Hamilton to the Jets here at 10 is just phenomenal. Arguably one of the lone generational prospects at his position in this draft. Goes to the Jets here at 10. Roaming safety does it all. This Jets team, man, I really like what they've done. I really do. Adding Kyle Hamilton here at 10 would just put a cherry on top of everything, man. It's really good. Adding Evan Neal and Kyle Hamilton is awesome for the Jets if that were to happen. Now here at 11 with Washington, things get a little weird. I think if this is the way the board falls, I like Derek Stingley. Just a position in need. I don't really like receiver here yet for them. I like Curtis Samuel a lot. I like Logan Thomas. Obviously, Terry McLaurin's there. You have Antonio Gibson and J.D. McKissick, a bunch of pass catchers. I don't really think you need another receiver. You have to Diami Brown last year. Maybe they go linebacker. They lost Matt Ioannidis. They cut him. Maybe they look to go there. But now here at 12, the Vikings is another team that I think can go a lot of different directions. And it's kind of really tough. I think they needed a little bit of everything on the defensive end. Obviously, you see David Ojabo here at the top. It sucks. He tore his Achilles at his pro day. I think he's probably going to fall out of the whole first round. For me here, maybe somebody takes a shot at him late. But for now, I think this is somewhere he's just probably not going to be in here. But 12 for the Vikings, there's been some talk about them trading Danielle Hunter a little bit. So I could see them falling in love with one of these edge rushers, like a Jermaine Johnson. Maybe let's go ahead and give him Jermaine Johnson here at 12. I think there's a good chance they trade their edge Hunter, and kind of need to go younger, add another crazy athlete. I thought about going with one of these corners. Booth's tempting. Obviously McDuffie's tempting. But nobody really felt like a Viking there, weirdly enough. So I just went with one of the best players available, one of the best athletes available, in Jermaine Johnson. Now the Texans' newest pick used to be the Cleveland Browns pick. We took Thibodeau for them earlier. This pick could be fun, man. They could go a lot of different directions. They can go Trevor Penning here at 14. Give him some nastiness in the offensive line with Tunsil. Maybe they go with a guy like Andrew Booth. Maybe they go really fun and take a guy like Jordan Davis. I don't think Jordan Davis makes the most sense in the world because he's a little limited. Maybe he's probably not necessarily a 3-down guy in the NFL. Wasn't even that in college. Um, so this one's tough. I like Andrew Booth here. I think for the Texans, they need a ball hawk in the secondary, and I think he does that. He's a crazy athlete. If you turn on the film, man, this guy makes ridiculous plays all the time. It's pretty impressive. Now here the Ravens at 14. I think the Ravens, the whole Zadarius Smith thing. He signed back and then he didn't. They added some cheaper offensive linemen. I still really like Trevor Penning here to the Ravens. He just kind of feels like a Raven. I said it with the Vikings. Nobody felt like a Viking. Trevor Penning will always feel like a Raven to me. Just that smash mouth football player. And I think he fits in like a glove there. Now the Eagles here at 15, 16, and 19, all over the place. They can go in a bunch of different directions. They haven't done anything wild in free agency. They still need a receiver. I think one of these picks will, like I said, I always talk about it's probably going to be an edge, an offensive lineman, a receiver, or a corner. Now, what order? We don't know. I think I got like I like Trent McDuffie. Let's go ahead and pencil them in. Trent McDuffie. Trent McDuffie here, 14 or 15 gives them a little bit of a do-it-all corner. I like it. And now for the receiver aspect of things, maybe they I mean, I know Jameson Williams is not necessarily Devontae Smith. I know he transferred in, but Alabama receivers, maybe you reunite them a little bit. Maybe you go, maybe you like the Drake Londons of the world. Maybe even go a Devontae Wyatt. A Zion Johnson wouldn't surprise me at all. I know that their wide receiver coach worked out Treylon Burks at his pro day. They need linebacker help, so maybe they go with whoever their LB1 is. But for right now, I'm gonna go ahead and give them a receiver, and I think a guy like Treylon Burks fits in well as a complement to Devontae Smith. He can kind of get creative with him. I think that gives Jalen Hurts a bigger receiver, a guy you can throw to underneath, a guy that you can work in and out of the slot. You could do a lot of creative things with him. Now here at 17, the way the Chargers offseason has gone, I'm surprised they even have this pick. I mean, man, J.C. Jackson, Khalil Mack, they just signed Gerald Everett. They've done a lot. They definitely need some offensive line help, and they could use some interior defensive line. I mean, I can't believe it worked this way, but here Jordan Davis at 17, it's a sprint to the podium pick for me, the Chargers, man. I had Jordan Davis going earlier a lot. I liked him to the Browns a lot, but now the Browns don't have that pick. Maybe the Eagles like Jordan Davis, but they just re-signed Fletcher Cox. Not that necessarily stops you from taking him, but Jordan Davis is there at 17 for the Chargers. Like I said, it's a sprint to the podium pick. Sprint to the podium. Now here at 18 with the Saints, Armstead's still out there in free agency. I don't know. I don't really think he's going to come back. I don't know if they have the money to get that done. So I think this is a wide receiver here, and I like the way Jameson Williams complements Michael Thomas better than anybody. So yeah, I think it just kind of fits in. If Jameis Winston does stay, Jameis Winston has a cannon. Kind of fits like a glove there. He's a good compliment. Jameson Williams feels like a very good bet for the New Orleans Saints if he's on the board. I think it's kind of a big if, but if he is there, I like it. Now, 19, the Eagles here, it's still, they did add Hassan Reddick, so the edge need might go down a little bit. Let's give them Zion Johnson. I know offensive line might not be the biggest need in the world for them. They have some younger guys, but Zion Johnson is another guy that can come in, compete for a spot. And you have 3 picks, man. You have 3 picks in the first round. If they decide to take one of the guys on a developmental guy or a year rest, and I don't even think I think Zion Johnson can come in and compete and be on that starting offensive line right away. Come in and replace Brooks right away. But maybe he doesn't win the job. Whatever it is, the upside there is through the roof with him. And I think it's you got to continue to build up the trenches. That's something the Eagles always seem to prioritize, and I think that's kind of something they'd look to do here in the first round with one of their many picks in the world. Now 20, the Pittsburgh Steelers, Mitchell Trubisky, Miles Jack, James Daniels. They've done a lot. It's still not complete over there, but they've done a lot. I still think they could use an offensive lineman, preferably a tackle, but nobody's screaming at you here at 20. You can still look in the interior as well. Linderbaum, Kenyon Green, obviously are the guys that make a lot of sense. Maybe you can go to the back end. You can add a pass rusher. Maybe I don't think anybody's gonna take a shot on Ajabo, but that's something that'd be really fun for anybody to do. Um, you know, I kind of this is gonna be. I think this is gonna be a little weird when I'm looking at it, but I kind of like George Karlaftis here to the Steelers. I know it's not the biggest need in the world, um, but he's a good run defender, and their run defense wasn't the best. You can move him around a little bit. You get another compliment to TJ Watt. George Karlaftis is just another one of those guys that kind of feels like a Steeler. Maybe they go quarterback here. You know, Mitch isn't necessarily the answer long term, but maybe he just causes them not to take somebody here at 20, like a Kenny Pickett. You know, maybe they still fall in love with a guy like Kenny Pickett, or maybe it's another quarterback. But for right now, I like the way George Karlaftis fits with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now here at 21, the Patriots are another team that hasn't done too much in free agency. Not like them really. They've had a little bit of a weird, but they did trade Shaq Mason for a fifth rounder. Seems really weird. I could see them liking a guy like Linderbaum, Kenyon Green even. Um, they could use a corner. They could use a linebacker. Kyer Elam feels good for them. All these linebackers feel good for them as well. I think this could be. I think this could be an interior offensive line, even though it has their not the highest need in the world. But I like linebacker here, and I think Devin Lloyd fits what the Patriots look for at linebackers typically more than Nakobe Dean does. And there's a lot of varying opinions about Nakobe Dean, man. I think he's a hell of a player, but not everybody's as high as him as I am. So maybe he's the guy that slips out of the first. But now, man, the pack. I didn't even touch on that, man. Devontae Adams. You got two picks here now, 22 and 28. I don't think they're both gonna be receivers, but I definitely think there's a chance. And right here at 22, who you got after them? Oh, I think one of these is going to be a receiver because there's a lot of teams that pick in between you that could definitely look to take one. But who's a better fit for them, Drake London or Olave? I think Drake London. I think Drake London here at 22 is something the Packers will love. Of course, Olave is fun too. If they both went there, that's I don't know. I don't know. I think they're gonna take the route of adding one of the vets. You know, maybe a Jarvis Landry, maybe a Julio Jones. They'll probably work to re-sign MVS, so maybe Olave's pushed down a little bit. But I like Drake London, give you kind of a dominant, big body receiver. At 23, the Cardinals. They haven't done too much in free agency either. They lost Chase Edmonds. They lost Christian Kirk. They have Rondell Moore to take his spot. I think their needs here, CB and edge, are pretty accurate. But who do they like? They could also kind of use some interior pass rush a little bit. I like Devontae Wyatt. I like Winfrey. Um, Kyer Elam makes a lot of sense here as well. Let's go ahead and give him Kyer Elam. I know they just need a corner, man. It seems like their corners are always just okay. The corners always just kind of underperform a little bit. So I think adding another guy for at the very least competition that's a really good athlete is something that kind of makes sense with Arizona. I think the league is becoming where you need a deep secondary. I think he kind of fits in like a glove there. Now Dallas is another team that hasn't done as a lot as everybody would expect in free agency. They've lost a lot of people. I think they could really use some offensive linemen, some interior offensive linemen. At that, they lost Connor Williams. They lost La'el Collins. I think one of these Linderbaum's Green make a lot of sense. It's just I know they don't necessarily need a center, but Linderbaum is fun. Maybe you can kind of just make it work, really, for being honest. Um, I think Kenyon Green's the wave. I think he fits a little better with what they're looking for. He provides you some more versatility. Um, but yeah, Linderbaum's an interesting situation. I don't know where he's going to go. Center's a weird position. A lot of teams filled out their center needs a little bit, so it'll be interesting to see where he falls in general. Now here, the Bills have added so many people on the defensive line. It's actually kind of ridiculous. Their need at IDL is 100% filled. I can promise you that. Even at edge, Von Miller, man, corner is definitely an interesting spot for them, but there's nobody really jumping out at you here. Edge, I don't even think is that big of a need. The offensive line is interesting. Maybe I feel like Linderbaum here to the Bills is something that I kind of want to do, but they just don't necessarily need Linderbaum, they just don't. Um, this Bills pick is a lot tougher than I thought it'd be, if I'm being honest. The Bills kind of need another receiver. They have Diggs. They signed O.J. Howard. They have the guy who went off in the playoffs, Gabe Davis. Um, it's kind of tough here. I think that there's definitely a possibility this is a receiver. I think they could fall in love with one of these corners as well. Kyler Gordon, Tariq Woolen here. I really think this was always a spot I kind of went edge in IDL, but they took care of that. And I think because they take care of that, they can pair Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs with a guy like Chris Olave. I think it makes a lot of sense. He can work from the slot. He can do a lot of things. He lost Cole Beasley. Gabe Davis is solid, but he's he's not going to stop you from drafting another receiver. He's a good complement to that offense. He really is. He adds a lot of speed that the offense doesn't really have at the receiver position. That's a fun pick there. That's a luxury pick for when you're good and you spend your money with your biggest needs in the offseason. Um, yeah, I could go corner. I could go a bunch of different ways. The Bills might just take best player available. They could still address younger interior defensive linemen. But here, 26 with the Titans, they just traded for Robert Woods. They got rid of Julio. They definitely could use a receiver, man. They really could. And I'm gonna give them Jahan. I'm gonna give them Jahan Dotson. They got Robert Woods. You can have Jahan Dotson kind of overtake him in a few years. You have A.J. Brown. You needed somebody to complement him. You need another team that lacks speed at the receiver position. Jahan Dotson does not lack any of that. Now the Bucks kind of in run it back mode a little bit. Kind of. They haven't done too much outside. They added Russell Gage. They re-signed a lot of their guys. Um, I don't know. I really don't know. My instincts here, I like Linderbaum because they lost both of their guards. Maybe they like Linderbaum to slide over to guard. But they also don't have Sue yet. Their interior, maybe a guy like Devontae Wyatt is kind of fun there. Let's go ahead and give him Linderbaum. I know they have Ryan Jensen, but Linderbaum and Jensen in the interior blocking for Brady. I think Linderbaum kind of forces his way here to Tampa Bay because they need that interior, man. They really do. They lost both of them. One retired and one left to go to the Bengals. And I think regardless if it's Linderbaum will probably be the guy that slides over. And I doubt Jensen would, especially with Brady. But Linderbaum moving over to guard, I think that the Tampa Bay Bucks are just looking for the best players to help them win right now, and getting a crazy prospect like Linderbaum at a center position and moving him over to help them win right now is something I can see the Bucks doing. Now here at 28, the Packers, they need some edge, like it says, and I love this guy. I think he's going to go higher than people expect. Boyan Mafe out of Minnesota is a freak athlete. I think he's going to go in the first round. He's going to surprise a lot of people, but don't be surprised. The guy is an unreal athlete. It's just a fact. The Packers now have the ability to get a receiver and an edge player, build for the future a little bit. I think if that were to happen, Packers fans would be pretty happy, even though you did have to trade Devontae Adams to do it. But, everything comes at a price, sadly enough. Now the Dolphins here, they still kind of need a receiver a little bit. Christian Watson, I kind of like in this offense with Tua and the Mike McDaniel just new scheme of things. But still, it might be a little early for him. I still definitely think there's a chance he sneaks into the first. Devontae Wyatt is another guy that's pretty interesting. They could kind of use some pass rush. They need some offensive line still a little bit. They need a linebacker. Let's give them Nakobe Dean. I like Nakobe Dean for them. They're kind of just, their defense is just something that they need some speed, I think, a little bit. The linebacker position, they have Jerome Baker. They have a couple other guys that are solid, but there's not many people in the league in general, but much less at the linebacker position, that is an athlete like Nakobe Dean is. He's a higher risk player, but the upside is really there for him, and I think it's worth the risk here for Miami at 29. I really do. Now 30 with the Chiefs, got Juju, so you can check receiver off. I think Devontae Wyatt is a guy that's really fun here. They could go corner. They really do need a corner, man. Kyler Gordon's a guy that makes a lot of sense. I think edge, interior, or interior pass rush is something that I like a lot. Not interior offensive line, interior defensive line. I think that Leal, Winfrey, Wyatt. Let's go ahead and give him Devontae Wyatt. I think another interior pass rusher that you can do a lot of things with. I personally don't even think Devontae Wyatt is going to last this long, but he did. And the Chiefs lucked out here at 30. Now the Cincinnati Bengals. I told people on my very first mock draft that I did that this pick will not be an offensive lineman. I said that they're going to go balls to the walls in free agency, and here we are. They've signed Ted Karras. They've signed Alex Kappa. They just landed La'el Collins. They've done everything you can ask for them to do to upgrade the offensive line. That's going to allow them to have fun with this pick, address other needs. And it was such a smart way the Bengals played it. You go spend your money on the offensive line, and you can draft best player available. And that's what they're going to do here. I think it's definitely going to be on the defensive side of the ball. You're looking at corner. You're looking at interior defensive line. Possible some fun safeties. A Daxon Hill, a Brisker, even a Petrie, a Lewis Sign are all fun. A corner, a Kyler Gordon. I think, I don't know if Kyler Gordon's here, but is worth the 31 pick. I like him a lot. I don't know. I really do like Perron Winfrey here, Oklahoma, an interior pass rusher. They re-signed to B.J. Hill. They still need an interior pass rusher. I know they brought in Jaron Reed for a visit. He left town. I think now that they might kind of hold that need off and wait to possibly address it until the draft and see if a guy like Perron Winfrey falls to you at 31. Devontae Wyatt almost fell to them at 31, but he went right before them. I think that this pick is almost 100% defense in my mind, and there's some fun interior defensive linemen. You got, like I said, you have Wyatt, you have Leal, you have Winfrey. Travis Jones is another really good guy. There's some edge guys that can kind of come inside. Cameron Thomas, Logan Hall can kind of do that as well. Like I said, I brought up the safeties a little bit. Corner, I think, is where they would want this pick to go, but the board just didn't fall in that direction. So I think for right now, they kind of go with the best player available, Perron Winfrey here at 31. Now the Lions, I'm going to say this right now. I told you I don't think he'll be in my first round, but they took Aiden Hutchinson. If you could reunite Aiden Hutchinson and David Ajabo at 32, I know David Ajabo tore his Achilles, but that is fun. I'm tempted. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm tempted. I could see Detroit doing it. It's a luxury. They're not going to compete next year. And then you reunite your college teammates, David Ajabo and Aiden Hutchinson. Oh, okay. Well, let me ponder that thought and look at some other possible options for them. They obviously could go a Kenny Pickett, a Ritter, a Corral if they think they're worth it. They could go a Daxon Hill, a Brisker. I like that a lot. I know they re-signed Tracy Walker. They could use some help in that area. This could also still be a receiver. They did sign DJ Chark, but it's still not it's still not a longer term thing. I think if this is the case, they're not going to go receiver because they have the second pick. They have another high pick. The Jags aren't going to take one with the way they've attacked free agency. So I think that the Lions, this could be a good trade down spot. You could try to take a shot on one of these corners, maybe take a Daxon Hill, maybe take a Brisker, any of these safeties. I think I would take David Ajabo, but I'm not sure where he's going to go. Not too much information about the injury yet. So I think I'm going to go towards a safety. And I'm just going to take Daxon Hill, kind of round out the draft. I can't stop thinking about the possible Michigan edge reuniting in Detroit in the NFL. That's something that is super fun to me. But as you can see here, just a little bit of a recap of what happened. Like I said, this is our first mock post free agency. It went a lot unexpected in my opinion. This one definitely kind of threw me for a loop a little bit, but it's fun. That's why free agency is here. It kind of throws things for a loop. Some teams address positions heavily. Some teams ignore positions. Some teams make some weird signings, some weird trades, and put teams in a different position. But like I said at the beginning of the video, please make sure you follow TWSN on all of our social media platforms. Subscribe here on YouTube. Free agency isn't over. Our draft coverage is just starting. We're going to be breaking some more free agency news. We're going to be breaking maybe some draft rumors, breaking down some trades. We're going to get into some fantasy football, some baseball content coming your way. Just regardless, following TWSN is the right move for you because we will cover everything you could possibly think of. I promise you that. But for now, that's going to wrap up my first mock draft post free agency, just week 1. There's still some dominoes to fall, but I think at this point in time, a week after free agency, this is how the board's looking. Still some dominoes to fall. And when they do fall, we'll have another mock draft video for you guys then. I can't wait to see you guys then.